Hey everybody. Welcome, welcome. Hi. We are here today with Gabby Alexa, which I'm super, super excited about. She is a sex educator and a writer and a bisexual icon, in my opinion. And here she is. Hey, how are you?
Good, enjoying this December, this holiday season.
Yes, amazing. Yeah,
How are you?
I'm good. It's weird spending the holidays inside. It's such a strange thing. I mean, we spend the holidays inside because it's cold, but we do a little more outdoors usually. So I'm glad you're thriving.
I don't know if I would say thriving, but like managing. Yeah, doing the best possible that I can.
You're thriving, I feel like. So thanks for making time for us today. We really appreciate it, and we're so excited to have you. You did a workshop with us, which was so fun, and did some sex education with our LGBTQ plus young people, which they really appreciated, and I think needs to be a thing with young people. Before we begin, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, in the Future Perfect Project way. We usually do our name, our pronoun, how we're feeling, and where geographically you are. So I'll go first, and then I'll pass it to you. So I'm Emma, and she's feeling inquisitive in Philadelphia.
Okay. I'm Gabby, and she's feeling tired in New York.
Amazing. I mean, not amazing to be tired. I feel like this whole quarantine has been like tired, but sitting still and still tired for some reason. So I want to just jump right into bisexuality because you are the first person on this app who I've seen like so outspoken about bisexual issues and being bi. And so what does bisexuality mean to you?
I like that you said what it means to me because everyone has a different definition when it comes to labels in general. For me, it means that I'm attracted to people. That's it. I mean, I was going to go on, but then I kind of like realized you could just stop it right there. Yeah, I'm attracted to people. And I know that for some people who identify as bi, that their label means that they're attracted to men and women. That's their definition. And I know for some people, they say they're attracted to men, women, and non-binary people. And I just want to say I am attracted to people.
Period. People, period.
Right.
Were you always so confident in that label? Do labels matter to you?
I was definitely not always confident in that label. I do think labels matter to me, to people, in that they give them a way of finding community with other people. Like, it's one word that allows me to potentially connect with other people. And again, those definitions could be really different, but so there's still more nuance there. There's more of a conversation that has to happen beyond just like, I identify this way, what about you? But for the most part, it's a great way to signal like very generally what I'm attracted to and find community in that way and like convey who I'm like willing to date.
Yeah. Has quarantine affected the way you find queer community, and how has it, if it has?
I have been a very online person for some time, so not so much.
Yeah.
I'm definitely digging into it. I actually just started a Discord server to play Among Us, and it's like it's not queer specific, but it ends up being very queer just because that's who follows me.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to have like a queer gaming community. So I played Among Us yesterday with my Discord server, and then I played it today with just like random people from another server. And the difference I noticed was just so significant because it was like, mostly straight white people. Mm-hmm. And just totally different vibe for the game. 160% 60, 80-degree turn.
Yeah. I like have played Among Us a few times and I feel like I can tell who's queer. Even though all the characters, if you don't know, Among Us is this multiplayer game. Google it. And the characters are so like blob-ish, like robot vibe, but I can still tell who the queer ones are when I'm playing.
100%.
So that's incredible. And that's such a cool way to find community, I feel like. They're just
I feel like the way that's like very popular as like queer people having community is often like going out to bars, and not that I don't like to like grab a drink or whatever, but it's nice that no matter what, like whether we have the physical place of a bar or not, the vibe of that like safe oasis still exists. And I think because of quarantine and the fact that we can't go out, there's like a lot less drinking happening, and like more queer community that's just about connecting with the community and not necessarily about getting turned and like finding partners. And that's been nice too. Mm-hmm. And I hope that that like transitions past the pandemic. Like I hope that there's like more queer safe spaces that aren't alcohol based.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great. I'm always thinking of events where we could get a bartender to do mocktails, because everyone deserves like a good drink, even if there's not liquor in it, I think. So the students we serve, the people we serve are ages 13 all the way up to 24. We've expanded. But I want to know what you were like at 13, because and what would that person think of you right now?
That's so funny of a question, because I fell asleep thinking about that exact question.
No way.
Yeah, like that was my last thought as I went to bed. And I just kept thinking, wow, 13-year-old me would be like, you're bugging. When I was 13, I was like, so, I mean, who isn't insecure at 13, I guess? But I didn't think that things would get better. I was very depressed. I was in therapy. I thought I would never come out. Like, that was my plan. I specifically remember at 13 being like, it's never going to happen. And, I mean, that shows how little you know at 13 about, like, where your life is going to go. But I think if I told 13-year-old me that I was out, that I had followers on the internet, and that I had a book coming out, I think she'd be like, you're lying.
Yeah. Are there any qualities that you've kind of kept with you from your 13-year-old self? Like, obviously 13-year-old you is queer also.
She was, yeah.
And we love her. We have to like give our 13-year-old selves a hug, or else, like, I don't know. I just think we need to nurture that inner child.
Oh, you're right. I should do more nurturing. I'm always just like, yo, what was going on? I even remember being
I'm like
I had this like enormous desire to fit in when I didn't. And instead of embracing the fact that I didn't fit in, I like tried too hard to fit in, right? And I was never like openly homophobic or anything, like, but I was very like, oh, but I'm not gay. And I just, it was like, for what did I go that hard to like express that? Like, and I don't even think that it was believable. I think that when I did come out, the main feedback that I got from people was, yeah, bro, we already could tell. So I wish that I didn't go so hard to pretend otherwise, because it was pretty ridiculous of me.
Yeah, were there people in your life at that time that were embracing queer people? Like,
no.
I go back to your middle school and your high school. Like, were you the only queer person, you think?
As an adult now, right, I know that I'm not. It almost is weird. I feel like queer people gravitate towards each other even if they're not out, because there's no other explanation for why so many of my friends and I are all out now.
Right.
How did this happen to all of us? You know? Maybe not 100%, but like a strong 98.9, you know? So it's like, I think there was like that gravitating pull. And yeah, like, I don't know where I was going with that one, but
you were all kind of like unspokenly queer, your friends, in growing up?
Yeah. So like, I guess what I'm trying to say, I kind of lost my thought there, but I'm trying to say that because we already had each other and we were already queer, like it doesn't feel like much changed other than like our relationship to ourselves.
Yeah. And you know, like, because a lot of our young people are kind of going through this shift of accepting their identity so much earlier than maybe you and I did. when was that moment for you where the light bulb went off and you're like, okay, I'm ready to start embracing this part of myself?
So I want to start by saying I'm so jealous of young people today.
I
Like I can't even hold it in. Like I see them, even when we did the sex education clinic, and I saw so many people emphasizing like their identities and stating what their pronouns were. And I was like that just was not my experience as a young person. And I even went on like a first date once where like we spent the whole date just being like, yo, young people are so lucky that they just have like, oh, I'm just so jealous. I just had to start off by saying that. But
me too.
so I was definitely around 13 when I knew for certain. And it was like a series of things that let me know beforehand. And I even reflect, like, I think at 8 years old, I should have known, right? I kissed a girl when I was 8. So I was like, that should have included in. And I got in so much trouble with my teacher.
Really?
Yeah, I got yelled at. And I was like, oh my God, I just didn't even think of it. Because I didn't know that, like, being gay was wrong yet, I had just, like, done it off instinct. And then when I got in so much trouble, I was like, well, why does it matter? It's not like it's a boy, because I also recognized that like girls and boys had to be separate. So I was like, I don't get what I'm doing wrong. And like I was just really
right. What a paradox that is.
But it didn't click for me. I still was like, I was just showing my friendly affection. And then at 13, I also like had watched a lot of movies by then. And that was when I had like my own Netflix account finally, and I could use the internet kind of unwatched. So I watched the movie Debs in junior high school. I don't know if you're familiar with that movie.
No, I'm not.
So it's a spy movie, and the description that we saw when we got it on demand was like emphasizing that it's a spy movie, but it's a gay spy movie. It's a lesbian spy movie.
Oh my gosh.
So she like kidnaps, the evil person kidnaps the spy, and then they fall in love. So then when the other spies come to go rescue them, they're like, we're together now. It doesn't even make sense, because that sounds like an abuser situation, honestly. But at the time, I was so into it. What?
We love the representation. Like, maybe a problematic premise, but like great representation.
Right. Someone in the chat is like, Debs. Yep. Debs. Exactly. And then, so I watched that movie, and I remember like my friends were like, ew, like, can we turn this? 3 of them are gay now, so I would like, they still have a lot to answer for, but they were like, ew, this is so nasty. And I was like, I don't know, I'm straight, but I'm just really invested in the plot.
Right.
And
my mom commented
that was like a huge hint. And then when I was 13, someone gifted me the movie 13, where it's not like queer per se, but there's like a couple scenes where the 2 of the girls make out in that. And I think after I watched those 2, I was like sitting at the computer, and I was like, you know, I could just like be gay. Like I could just decide to do that right now. Like I could go on forums and find queer community, and I could just like go watch movies with, like, I could just do that. So then I just, you know, I used to have I don't know if you were called LiveJournal.
I did not have LiveJournal. I was like on Neopets and Club Penguin side of the internet.
I mean, I was too, but I really needed a journal. So I posted on my LiveJournal like that I was bisexual, and my friends even found that LiveJournal, and it was this whole thing. And then I was like, oh, I was role playing.
It was a fanfic about my life.
Right. That's not an exaggeration. That's what I said. And it was just like this whole complicated thing where I was like, maybe I'm wrong, you know, like it just seemed too easy to just be like, oh my God, I recognize this thing about myself and it's true. And then just to like live your life differently. It seems easy now, but at the time, not so easy.
Right. And it sounds like online, well, it stinks when your real life friends discover online you sometimes, but when did you first discover the internet? And you're writing a whole book about being online.
This is a main part of my book, though, is how queer people find so much community, and especially when they're in homes that are not safe for them, how like the internet is life-saving. And I looked at a lot of research studies, and statistically, like I would consider the internet to be like life-saving, in the same way that there are certain medications that are life-saving because of the mental impact of not having access to those. You know, people talk all the time about like about using someone's pronouns is suicide prevention, right? And I think the argument that my book makes is that the internet is for queer people suicide prevention.
Wow.
And then it makes like a broader argument on ways that we can make the internet more secure and loving and compassionate to queer people, because it still has a long way to go.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like I think you've been like my biggest team. Oh, sorry, my phone. My phone's like, charge me, please. But you've been one of my biggest teachers online, and you've talked about shadow banning a lot, which, do you want to explain what that is for people watching, aka an internet problem?
Yeah, it is an internet problem. So a lot of content is not shown as visibly as other forms of content. I guess the people at Instagram and Facebook really want to prioritize content that is like most neutral, I guess, right? So a lot of political content ends up not being shown up in people's feeds. I noticed it especially like during the George Floyd protests, that certain things wouldn't show up. Certain hashtags won't show up, or will cause your post to be de-emphasized, and definitely posts that are very sexual in nature get de-emphasized. So as a person whose account is very queer, also, you know, queer content, recently one of my writing friends tried to boost one of their posts that was an interview with another queer person, and Facebook said that they wouldn't allow you to buy ads. And of course, buying ads through Facebook and Instagram is a huge way that people promote it, but they often say no to political content. And the word political can be applied to so many things that it's hard to argue then, right? Like, I participated in an influencer campaign for shirts that said "Never Her Fault," that raised money for a nonprofit for sexual violence. And Facebook also said that was too political to promote. So like, there's like a wide range of topics that fall under that umbrella, from like sexual violence related content to just sexual content to queer content.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for that explainer. And I am just really nostalgic for the internet before algorithm. Like, there must have always been some sort of algorithm, but I was a YouTuber in middle school, and once someone subscribed and was like, "I'm dedicated to your art and what you're doing." I don't know if we're going to call my iMovie videos art, but whatever. They keep coming back, and they show up, and they honored that like partnership between the two people, the maker and the subscriber. So I'm just bummed. Yeah. It's all.
I really like the language that you use for that, about them honoring the relationship between the creator and the subscriber, and because it highlights the fact that they don't honor that anymore. They're just here to make money, so they're not prioritizing that relationship. They're prioritizing their own like bottom line, and that's so sad. And I do really miss the live journal days, where like, if I caught up on content in one platform in a chronological fashion, I just got off the computer.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
We just don't even do that anymore, and it's sad. I that.
Yeah. I think Tumblr was the beginning of my not coming off the computer days, because it would just kind of keep going and keep going. What was your first taste of queer community on the internet?
Well, definitely LiveJournal, because that was where I was secretly queer for so long. Like, I was out just to my LiveJournal friends, and the way that LiveJournal was, is like, you could ask other people to be your friend, and then you did like kind of comment for comment. So, and then if you guys were not active on each other's pages, you like de-added each other. So like, there were a lot of just random strangers on the internet, some of which I'm still friends with now, who I had no connection to other than this like shared queerness. And we were writing like journal entries. So they had access to these like really private, vulnerable pieces of me that no one to this day had at that time.
Wow. That's so, like, that vulnerability is so formative, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Being able to say that stuff out loud. So when did you go from LiveJournal to writing books? Like, when did you come out as a writer?
There's a lot in between. So in high school, I really loved the writer Ned Vizzini. He wrote It's Kind of a Funny Story, and other related mental health books, and they were really good to me. And then I saw that he was teaching at the Barnes & Noble near to my dad's job. My dad worked at Methodist Hospital in Brooklyn, and the Barnes & Noble's across the street.
Oh my God.
So I would go while he was at the hospital, and Ned Vizzini would like work one-on-one with all of us, and there was like a blog that he maintained for us, and then once a week, like whoever's writing was really good at that workshop, he posted it on the blog, and the workshop kept going until he got a deal with NBC, and then he had to fly to LA, and really, really sadly, he's no longer with us. He ended up taking his own life, and like he was just my writing like guru. Like he taught me so much and like encouraged me to be like actively writing. So I tried to keep writing after him. And I went to school for journalism, but I didn't have the language of racism yet. And once I found out like that people were like, not that I found out, but once I understood like the little microaggressions that I was dealing with in my journalism school, I stopped going. So it was that, and I was going through a hard breakup. So I dropped out of school. I went back to school, and I was just like, I had no path really. I didn't know where I was going, but I did know that writing was like one of my passions still. So I started blogging, and then I went back to school for computer programming, and but I was still running my blog. And then I ended up getting an internship just randomly one day. Like I saw the ad, I showed up for the interview, and then they were like, okay, start tomorrow. And that seemed like, I was like, are you guys desperate? It was an unpaid internship, so that is part of it. But like I got bylines at a real publication with real people reading my work and a real editor giving me feedback. And then I left that unpaid internship after 9 months because I was broke. And I started pitching my writing. And I mean, my first piece out of that internship was Elle magazine, which like to this day, I'm like, that is so unbelievable. Like it just seemed like I had like random fortuitous events, but really it was that I had been blogging for so long and like honing my craft and practicing. And then I had an editor's eyes on my work at a really young age comparatively. And then I was able to like take my career from there. And then the book thing just happened this year. Someone reached out and said, I think you should write a book. So I wrote one.
Oh my goodness. What an inspiring story to the young people we serve. And we do writing workshops. We're actually doing a workshop on autobiographical storytelling this week, which I feel like you're a pro at. And I want people watching and listening either right now in real time with us or later to know that like you can be a writer too. And yeah, the L thing doesn't happen right away. The book deal doesn't happen right away, but it's the steps you took to get there. I mean, I went to journalism school too, and it's strange. And some people just kind of tumble out of there and turn into something else.
Yeah. I mean, that was it. It's that at no point did I believe that my life was going to get better. And even I went hiking maybe 2 years ago, and the whole time that I was like, I would get to what I thought was the top of this mountain. There was like more mountain. Like as soon as I got over that crest, there was more. And the whole time I was hiking, I kept thinking, wow, this is such a metaphor for my writing career. Because every single time that I think, oh, I've peaked. Like when I got something in L, I thought that was the end of my career. Like I was like, there's no way I can do better. And then now I have 2 things in L, and I've had things in Cosmo and all these other publications. But then at that point, I was like, I must have peaked. And then I got the book deal and like other, related great opportunities. But I never thought that I was going to be here. I was just doing what I love, which is writing.
Yeah, there's always more mountain left. That's such a beautiful metaphor. So where in the timeline did Instagram come up? Because that is you are such an icon to so many and such an educator to so many on Instagram. And I've been following
at Galore. I was doing editorial, and I also like did audience development for like a very short period of time. But I was around like the social media team. Like we had meetings, and I got to see like so many really talented people and writers in different like niches, but still really great writers, and social media professionals, but in all these different ones. And I would hear all the time like what their ideas were for the publication. And then afterwards I like did a gig where I was running social media for a influencer brand basically. And I just kept thinking like I've learned so much by being in this environment, but I have the opportunity to like take that and use it for myself. And the only reason that it took me so long to start like putting out content was just like imposter syndrome and feeling like, yeah, like I can come up with all these really great ideas for other people, and I can come up with great ideas when people are paying me for my great ideas, but to come up with great ideas for myself, it takes like a lot of confidence, and it's hard.
And it's unpaid labor. Like a lot of art is unpaid.
Yeah, it is. It is unpaid labor. I will say that the returns on being so online have been great, you know? Like I wouldn't have gotten the book if not for like a really dedicated following. And I wouldn't have gotten, sometimes people send me like, oh, I would love for you to write for this, or I would love for you to apply for this job. And I've made some really great friends as a result of it. So like sometimes definitely it's been very thankless, but sometimes it's been like a miracle, you know? So I think anyone who's willing to put themselves out on the internet, regardless of like follower count, just the willingness to be a content creator is something I really deeply respect, and think like for any of those people, regardless of platform, like it'll open doors.
Yeah. So let's imagine that a young queer teen is watching this and they're having imposter syndrome. What is your advice to get started as a writer and putting your content out there?
I guess mostly it's that people think that they have to be perfect before they can start, and you're not going to be perfect. You're going to start and suck a little bit. Maybe you'll, you know, some people do start and they're pretty good, and there's a lot of different like barriers to access. Like if you already have the money to invest in like an influencer setup, like to get the lighting and like a cool background or something, I mean, yeah, it may be a little bit easier for you. But overall, you're probably going to post some content that people think is bad and you're probably going to post content that nobody pays attention to. There are going to be days where you just feel like no one's even looking at my stuff, and you have to post it because you love it.
Yeah. Do you still go through those times of like, no one's looking at my stuff?
Yes. Oh my God. But I recently, as of this week, have found a hack, which is I started scheduling my content. So then I'm not like posting it and then waiting immediately for that feeling of like of reward.
Wow. Yeah.
Especially like, you know, in writing my book, I was doing research on how social media platforms kind of weaponize our attention and then monetize it afterwards. And it's that they use like those likes and those like that reward system to keep you hooked on the platform. And I had to like divorce myself from that desire for the reward. And if something is being posted when I'm not actively on Instagram, when I'm just like living my life, then I come back to it and it already has likes.
Yeah.
Like, that photo today, by the time I remembered that I had scheduled it, I came back to the photo and it already had like 500 likes. So then I don't have that like those minutes of like, where's the reward? Where's the reward? And I know people try to pretend that there's no sense of like, oh, I would like the reward of social media, but like psychologically it's in us, and they intentionally tailor the platform to exacerbate that, to make that worse so that you spend more of your time and then therefore they make more money off of you.
But we need the platform at the same time. Like they're manipulating us and we need them, and they must know.
Yeah, so I try to willfully disengage. Like I try to set limits on how much time. Again, like the scheduling of content has really helped me to not be like tied to this platform in such a harmful way. But I also think like a main thing is like people will say things that you disagree with, and like it's not always like very positive on this app. But this is also really new boundaries that I have, is that if someone is not also like a content creator, if they're not like also like putting themselves up, like presenting themselves to the court of public opinion in the same way, then their feedback is not as important as like the people who are also here with me. And like, you know, in quote unquote cancel culture, I don't know that people can be accountable to strangers they've never met, but they're accountable to their community. And my community is like the other sex positive people on this app. If other sex positive people are telling me something about my content that is harmful, like those are the people that I'm ultimately going to listen to. So like, yeah, gearing myself away from viewing it as like everyone is going to love me or everyone's going to like favor my content, versus I'm posting content that I love and I'm posting content that is accountable to other people in my community.
Wow, I really needed this. This is so refreshing. And thank you for being so honest about like the way likes have us hanging out on the app for 7 hours a day. Like I remember when I would have a bad day in high school saying like, I'm just going to take a new Facebook profile picture and sit at the computer for an hour and like
right
serotonin, a crumb of serotonin. Well, my main takeaways are that we all need to start scheduling posts so we don't sit and stare at our phones. And then we should probably get blue light glasses because we're going to stare at our phones anyway.
Yeah, I actually need to get those. I've heard of them.
I have some, and my mom's watching this, and she's the one who got me the blue light glasses. And Mom, I never wear them, and I'm sorry. By the way, my mom started a content creation account. Like, she has her main one and she has another one, and she's just been really enjoying this in the comments. She's like, I'm 55 and inspired. So
oh, that's your mom. Hi.
Yeah, that's my mom. So maybe you two will chat one day. My last question for you is, because we're the Future Perfect Project, what is your perfect future for yourself and I guess for our queer young people?
Safer internet spaces, and internet spaces change all the time. So even as I'm like using Discord more often, I realize that like the social media communities that we find are like always going to shift and change. It's like not always just Instagram. Now that people are like hopping on TikTok, that's like another new social media platform, and there will always be new social media platforms. So just like, going with the flow, and trying to find the spaces where you thrive and are supported and compassionate. So I hope for the future, I hope to see more of that, and less of this like curated, here's how perfect I look vibe. I think that would support queer people the most, because I think it contributes to body dysmorphia, and it contributes to like, weird feelings around gender and sexuality and like the way that we present in general. And it just like, and like it can be very classist at times. And that's my future vision, is a place where all of that is gone.
I want to live in that future. We need like a special internet browser for just the gays.
That would be really cool, actually.
Right? Even though, like, there's bad people in every community. I see you gays, body shaming gays, but we're here. We've created an amazing community tonight, I feel like. Oh, and my mom wants to know when your book comes out.
My book comes out in March, which is wild. I keep walking around my house and I'm like, oh my God, my book is at the Barnes and Noble, and my family is like, please stop. Like, we're okay. Like the first time I said it, they were like, oh, that's so cool. And now they're like, yeah, we get it. It's at Barnes and Noble. Like, right.
It's going to be at the same Barnes and Noble where it's going to be.
That's what I was saying. Exactly. That's what I was saying. And my parents were like, yeah, duh. Like, we get it. Cool. They're like over it, I guess, in talking to me. But then I've heard them like calling the family and being like, yes, her book comes out in March. She worked really hard on it. And like, I've never had that level of support from my parents before, because I dropped out of college. And I think they don't use the internet, so they don't really understand like what I do. Sure. They just know I'm online a lot. Yeah, so the book comes out in March. Everyone's really excited about it. You can get it at most retailers, and I hope that it's as queer of a book as I tried to make it, because that really is what it is. It's dedicated. I haven't told anyone yet, but the dedication reads to the queens, the queers, and everyone else who had to find safe spaces online because offline spaces were not safe.
Oh, what a great place to end. Thank you so, so much, Gabby. I am probably going to watch this again because there were so many great nuggets of wisdom here. And we got to have you back for a workshop. If you're feeling inspired and watching this, we're doing an autobiographical writing workshop tomorrow night. So let's get started on your book. The link in our bio. And so crazy, Gabby, because we've never met in real life, but we're online friends. So this is proof you can have real community online.
You can 100%.
All right. Well, good night, everybody. And thank you so much, Gabby.
Of course. It was so lovely talking to you. Have a good night.
I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.